everybody, welcome on my channel Watch These Dice for a new battle report. Again with Ogre, but this time a complete different list. I wanted to try out something different. I have still one big tournament that I'm going to attend in France towards the end of the year, end of November to be more precise. And this event is going to be so big that it's going to be even bigger than the ETC, just to get you a feeling. Since the scene is not so competitive in comparison to other tournaments like ETC or even like WTC this year, I wanted to try something maybe more aggro to also test myself and develop a little bit my aggressive game. That's also has been one of the learnings that I had during ETC, is that I wasn't really trained on how to be more aggressive when I needed to, thinking about the Infernal Dwarfs game. So yeah, all that taking all of that into account, I thought it could be good to try to place much more aggro list and try to see how it goes. And to be honest with you, this is something a bit how can I say, not uncomfortable, but feel like unusual for me, because I have been playing this type of stable Ogre list for a good year and a half with good results, and before I have been trying some more aggro list but not with the same success. So I'm really kind of at the same time kind of nervous to move into unknown ground, but also curious to see how did I improve during this year and a half, almost 2 years. How much did I improve that makes me being able to be also a good player when playing more aggro list, where you need to produce more and you cannot rely that much on the opponents coming towards you on the standoff and so on, and on the range damage. So I'm really curious to see how it goes, and this is the first game of this kind of journey. So the list I started with is definitely Wild Earth. I think when you want to play aggro, more MSU type of Ogre, Wild Earth is definitely the way to go. There are also some other MSU type of lists, like the one played by Adam from Poland. He has a great, by the way, great battle report topic on the 9th Age forum that I strongly recommend you to read if you don't yet. But basically, what I wanted to do is something very aggro, almost no range damage, definitely as many combat units as possible, and also to spread the points around multiple units and not have a big Death Star like I was used to in the past. So I picked as a BSB a Mammoth Hunter on the Rock, which is already a BSB 18 without Cult Leader. I felt that's kind of interesting. I paid him Head Hunter, which allows him to heal himself when he kills somebody in close combat, MR3, and a great weapon. So I like the fact that it's not so expensive. It's a Rock, it's a big bubble BSB, still somehow resilient to range damage and can heal himself, so he's not so likely to die that often. Then my general will be a Mammoth Hunter on a Tusker. Wanted to try Mounted Hunter, was really the theme of this list. Not something that I played a lot in the past when I've been playing Wild Earth or Mammoth Hunter or type of list. I've been putting them on foot for the special deployment. Here I really wanted to explore this new path of having two mounted hunters. So the second one, the general, is on the 2-up, 5-up, 3-up against fire. In order to have a slightly better magic face, I put a Crown of the Wizard King on him. And then I have a Master Shamanism with Iron Fist, Binding Scroll, Magical Heirloom. Definitely Shamanism was the way to go for this list. I want to have as many combat buff as possible, also to protect my list a bit against shooting. So definitely Shamanism was a no-brainer here. In core, I went for 3 scoring units, 1x11 tribesmen with pad weapon, full command banner speed. Possibly the Shaman can be in this big unit, that's still quite cheap, but can also go into other unit like the second one that has Lookout Sir thanks to the standard bearer. So 2 tribesmen dart with champion to get some challenge for my character if I need to. The 4th scoring unit will be the Tusker Cavalry with great weapon. I kept them in the list, just add a champion on the unit. Same process as for the other scoring unit. I want to be able to take challenge for Mammoth Hunter instead of Mammoth Hunter if I need to. So I kept them. Then I have 2 units of Yetis, 1 times 4 Yetis, 1 times 2 Yetis. I want to be chaff, anti-chaff, to open the game. That's also really the role of the 4 Yetis and the Slave Giant is to try things out, to take initiative, to take risk. They are not so expensive, so I can try out stuff, see how it goes, and then try to exploit what happens with countercharge. A unit of 2 Yetis is more like a chaff piece or anti-chaff piece, like a fast cav, a lone Saber-tooth Tiger, my second Rock, and a Slave Giant. My opponent was playing a Vandara Scourge with a 5-up parry and no divine attack against him. Then Sibarash with resilience 6 at target, so he's playing a MSU very classical demon list. 18 Myrmidon with Hatred, 15 Succubi with -1 off death. I think he was full command both. 10 Imps with a champion, he has a hereditary spell, 5 orders with a 5-up. A Blazing Glory with nothing, 5 Eidolon with Incendiary Ichor and a champion, so they are magician. So he has 1 adept, Sibarash was an adept divination, and Vanadra Scourge was an apprentice of evocation. So he has 2 adept, 1 apprentice, and then also the imps having a spell. He has a medium chariot, so Horde Thresher with Divining Snout. That's really good on the chariot. It has a crazy movement range, charge range. And then 5 Siren as a piece of chaff. So a short list, but very typical to what Demon can offer, with 2 strong pieces being the Scourge and Sibarash. So a very good test for my list, basically, to see how I can compete with it in close combat. Magic, I went with +1 Strength Resilience, Hereditary, Break the Spirit, Totemic Summon, Swarm of Insect, and then I had randomly Healing Water, which is a very good spell, and my opponent had 2, 3, and 4 from Divination. I think 2 Hereditary, 1 on the Eidolon, 1 on the Imps, and then the Scourge reroll to Wound. Matchup analysis quickly. So I think between the secondary and the list, I feel comfortable to play second. Basically on second target, it's often good to play last because it's secondary objective that you win on turn 6. Since I have more drops in my list than him, more units than him in my list, I can play the drop game. So put some drops and wait for him to drop his whole army at some point. I also have some matchup that I want to avoid, thinking about Tribesmen and Tuskers. Tuskers, like I mentioned it in my past video, there are units that want to avoid some stuff, thinking especially here about Sibarash, Sibarash, and Tribesmen want to avoid Myrmidon, possibly Succubi, Sibarash, so that's also reinforce my plan to play second, or to drop second. Block his turn 1 chaff with Vanguarding Yeti to avoid a possible trap from him, to try to trap some of my less mobile units and charge them with some pieces that are unchaffable like the Scourge. Super amount of threat in my list, so I will try to create, like I mentioned before, opening with Yetis and Giant, and to basically try out what I wanted to have in the list. My both Rock I think are the prime answer to Brawl's Greater Demon. Like we know, Rock have their weaknesses, they are sensitive to a lot of stuff, but at the same time on the charge they can beat anything, which is often huge against strong combat pieces like Greater Demon. And overall I felt quite good about the matchup. I felt that he hasn't so much of range damage, meaning I can take some time before engaging. I have more resources than him, so on this part of the game I felt if I start to engage, at some point I will have units and he won't, and basically at some point that is going to be too much for him. Deployment, so I picked the new map Frozen Tundra on Warhall, which looks amazing but is not perfect for Battle Report because it's kind of hard to read, so I'm not sure I will pick it again for Battle Report. But yeah, other than that, what we can say, so he has a chariot on the left, medium chariot, then he has the Vanadar Scourge, he has a unit of 5 orders, the Sirens, the unit of Scouting Eidolons, then he has Succubi, Imps, Courtesan, Myrmidon, Blazing Glory. And before telling you that, I should have told you that he won the roll for side, plays his secure target in a very good spot because I have a big impassable here. So he put that almost in front of the impassable where I have only 9 inches deployment. Yeah, basically the small flanks. So I really struggle to put some good scoring here to try to go for this one. So very good placement of the token from his side. And basically I put mine as close as possible, so 24 in the middle of the map. So that's how I went. And then I told him, you can start to deploy. He put down 2 or 3 stuff. We exchanged a couple of drops, and at some point he realized I just have too much for him. So he dropped for first turn. So he went like I explained you. And my counter deployment, so I put a giant on the right, Yetis were like here and vanguarded behind the hill, a rock here, a BSB in the middle, general in the middle. We have then the shaman with tribesman, Tuskus quite far away from Cyberesh, and the blazing, it's also annoying. A tiger in the back, and on the far left I have my tribesman, which could seem contra-intuitive for you, but at the same time I felt I could put pressure on these pieces. Basically the Scourge, I'm going to be steadfast, so I could block him and then countercharge with heavier stuff. And the Chariot, at some point I'm going to trap him and try to get him from the flank. So I felt that could be a strong flank, and basically covering also maybe adding some pressure at some point with the BSB. So I felt I'm flexible enough with BSB in general to see where I want to go, providing BSB everywhere I needed. So I felt that was a deployment that basically give me the flexibility to adjust. I know that my right flank is a bit weaker than his probably, so if I need to support with a character at some point should be too much of an issue. And I also identify that in the middle of this deployment there is like it's weaker. If you see this part of the deployment, just Sukubai that are not so strong against me, and then imps and shooting units, so there is a big all kind of gap in the middle where I felt I could exploit it. And I tried to do this as soon as possible by vanguarding my Yetis that way forward, only giving him long charges, but at the same time giving me possibility to put pressure on his backline, and at the same time stopping a little bit the possibilities of the Siren with their movement turn 1. He's turn 1. So he pushes slightly forward on both flanks, went on the hill with these two, backed the Sirens, moved forward with the Orders, moved forward with Sukubai, didn't move with the Imps, push forward with Strider, thanks to the minion Strider, because Cyberesh is the general. Strider, Myrmidon, and then he pushed the Blazing to the flank to basically cover the flank, and Cyberesh went behind the hill. So as like medium base, and then he can jump behind my lines, or at least try to. So I think the type of turn 1 that I can expect, it's trying to surrounding me, but at the same time I'm also seeing opportunities, especially towards the middle. In the magic phase, he got reroll to wound on his Orders. Then he got an hereditary spell on my Yetis, did 2 wounds. I dispel Fate Judgment, and he failed the second hereditary. With shooting, I passed 3 saves on my Yetis that were too far from the head of the lance, but he still had ways to shoot me with the imps on a 5-up, I guess. 5-up, 3-up, and then I had a 5-up, and I passed 3 save, meaning all my Yetis are alive. So I felt this could be a very nice charge because he has no binding scroll, and I have 2 ways to make them basically Sukubai wounding me on 6-up. With no counter charge available, so I definitely took that charge. So Yetis charge, I push forward slightly with my general. This is not the final position. I think the BSB is here on the front, looking towards the left more or less to block all possible fly move from Vanadra, basically. So the BSB is here on the front, but I just took the screenshot at the wrong point of time. Just place my general in a position that I could possibly charge the Sukubai if I need to next round. Basically, if I'm not achieving to kill him, I want to have another chance. I place my Yeti ready to chaff stuff and be annoying. I backed with both the Rock and the Giant. Reason for that, I don't want Cyberesh in my backline yet. So I make sure that I have some good line of sight. I can still pass just near the Yetis and charge if he pushed too hard. And then I position my Shaman to have Swarm of Insect within 24 of Cyberesh. repositioned, so backed a little bit with the Tuskers, moved them to the side to be steadfast if I need to, and that's it more or less. In the magic phase, I try Swarm of Insect on Sibaresh, didn't use so many dice just to bait him to dispel it, and then have close combat buff on the Yetis, which works. So he dispels Swarm of Insect, I get Hereditary off on the Yetis, which was my prime target. Then I also got regen 5 up on the Yetis. So now I felt quite confident because we strike at the same time. I have 16 attacks plus 4 stomps. He wounds me on 6 up. I have a regen. I should be winning this combat easily. Shooting, I did 2 wounds with a Ogre crossbow on the Sirens, which was not expected, but nice. And then close combat, we go same time. He did 3 wounds to me, didn't pass any armor save and regen, so he did 3 wounds, kill 1 Yeti. We go same time, I kill only 5 of him, expected a bit more, so it's 16 attack. Should have put the math, I didn't do it. 16 attack on the 4 up and then 2 up, and then he has a 5 up ward save. So I felt with 3 stomps more, I felt I could have done just a bit more than 5, but still was possible that we get stuck. I was ready for that. No big problem here. I was just hoping for maybe some better luck to just get, very good opening, because I felt basically my plan was if I can do a lot first round, then reform in a good way, and then possibly kill him next round and get free, that would be the ideal. And if things doesn't go well, basically I could at least reduce this number of succubi to very little, and they are not going to achieve much in the game. Basically that's a bit the plan. So let's move on to Eastern 2. He's going to take a charge. He's going to charge with Sibaresh on a 10 rerollable to my flank, which he didn't really check what was the downside of that charge. Took it, failed it, and this is going to have consequence. So basically he failed charge that way, leaving me with a 10 Swift Stride with a Rock on the flank of Sibaresh. And as you can see, it's a potential game-breaking charge, because I could get charge here. If I get through in one round, it's another run in the flank of the Myrmidon. Basically the right flank could be dead, and I would be in a very good spot in the game. So that was, he realized short after declaring the charge that it was a mistake. But yeah, he failed that one. He could have also made it and be in a good position towards the middle. So he failed that charge, repositioned Blazing Glory. He had no way to chaff me, basically. We just repositioned his Blazing Glory, repositioned the Myrmidon looking at the center and making sure that if we stick another round, he could countercharge this time. Other than that, he stayed on the hill, push a bit forward with the orders to, get grasp of the objective, and move those guys forward to shoot at my general that still has a 3 up against these fire shots. So I should be fine. In the magic phase, I dispelled Scrying in close combat because I didn't want to hit him on a 5 up. I still had, he's going to go before me, but I'm still 6 up to wound, 5 up regen, so I felt I still have a chance to do well in this combat. So we'll see. Scrying dispelled, he got reroll to hit on the scuba. He was already hitting me on 2 up, so I felt okay with that. He failed an hereditary, I dispelled the second one. Close combat, I did 3 wounds with my Yetis, he did 2 wounds to me, so we are stuck. He also did a Fate Judgment that did 2 wounds to my general. Yeah, I have a 2 up armor save, he did 2 wounds to me. And with Eidolon, he didn't do anything to the general, I guess. I think that's how it went. So basically I saw some openings. So here we see in combat, I wanted to charge with the general, but I felt I'm relying on passing a leadership check on the 8, no reroll. Or I need to bring the BSB, but it could be hard, and I don't want to leave them without BSB. So I felt it's down to a leadership non-rerollable 8 to be able to chaff the Myrmidon. And if I don't chaff them and charge with the general, I'm in big trouble. So I felt I cannot really take that charge, it's too risky. So I didn't take the charge with the general, and also I had only 2 wounds left, which again didn't give me too much confidence to take that charge. because with 2 wounds left, then he can shoot me easily, cast some spear and kill me. So I felt it's a general, let's maybe be a bit more patient. I took the charge with the Rock, obviously in the flank of Cyberrush, but I failed the 10 Swift Stride. I moved my Yetis past the March check for the record, moved the Yetis in front of the Blazing Glory, and reposition my Giant to cover the angle and not allow Cyberrush to push behind me. Move my Tiger here in case he wants to move around. I can chaff him with the Tigers and turn around with the Rock. So yeah, not too bad. I would have liked to get that charge off, but it's maybe better for the interest of the game. Reposition a bit in the middle, move these guys a bit back or to the side, or just quick reform them. Push hard with the Tribesmen out of line of sight of Vanadra, covering all possible movement of the Chariot. So basically, if he doesn't charge, I'm going to charge him next round. A small mistake that I did, I wanted to have Vanadra on double 6 rerollable, and I just put him within double 11 rerollable, which I didn't want to, but I didn't pay too much attention. And I just repositioned BSB to cover all the possible position of Vanadra. In the magic phase, I try Swarm of Insect on Cyberrush, he dispelled that one. I got Hereditary against on the Yetis. I got the Throne and 4 regen, so I felt now it's my last chance. He's wounding me on 6 up, he hasn't so many attack left. And then I have 4 regen, so if I can survive that, then with 2 guys and 2 stomps, I can possibly get rid of the unit. And at least my Yetis, if he charge me, I can flee, I can do stuff. So it's my last chance. And I am full buff, so I felt couldn't be better. Unfortunately, close combat, he did 2 wounds to me and did 2 wounds to him, so we are still here. It's annoying. But I think it's not that outrageous, so to say. I mean, Yetis are only eating on the 4-up. He has a ward save, so yeah, I mean, that can happen. His turn, he took the counter charge with his Myrmidon against the flank of my Yetis. It's going to get rid of me, passes the March check with Cyberrush, but I think failed it with the Blazing Glory. I think so. Just moved out and basically wanted to cover my Yetis to push toward the imps, but something that I wasn't going to do anyway, because you can turn around, shoot me, and then I'm in trouble. So I felt could have done something better, maybe with this Blazing Glory. Cyberrush passes the March check on 8, no reroll. Pushes here towards my bunker within line of sight of my general, so this could be interesting. He took 2 charges. Fortunately, he failed the 11 rerollable against my Tuskers. Went in on 8 rerollable Swift Stride with the Chariot. We'll see how that goes, but I'm very excited because now I can pin down the Vanadra. I have a very interesting combat between my Tuskers and the Chariot, so I felt maybe that was a mistake for him to take that charge. We'll see. Activate his piece of chaff to chaff my BSB, obviously to avoid the BSB charging Vanadra, which would be way too much for him to take. In his magic phase, he got I Binding Scroll, reroll to wound. Obviously, I don't want the Chariot to kill my Tuskers before I go. He took out my Throne. He got reroll to hit on Cyberrush in case I want to charge with my General. And then I dispel Hereditary against my General. I heal a wound last round, so I still have 3 wounds left now. Fate Judgment on my General did nothing, and close combat, he killed exactly my 2 remaining Yetis, so I cannot strike at the Succubi that are still alive, which is a pity. The other close combat went in my favor. He did 2 wounds to me, and I kill him outright. So now I have a charge on a 9 Swift Stride with my Tuskers against Vanadra, which I felt very excited to roll, and I have an automatic charge of the Tribesmen. So no matter what happened, I'm going to pin him down to the ground with no counter charge of the Orders, which is already very good. And I think this shows you also that, again, it's a long charge. It was tempting for him to take, but I think, again, it was a mistake because it's more likely that he fails it. And if he fails it, he's at huge risk of getting charged by the Tuskers, first of all. And second of all, no matter what happens, going to get charged by the Tribesmen in the flank, which is already a risky combat. So way too risky, I think, to take that charge. And we'll see if he gets punished for that. My turn 3, I failed the charge on 9 Swift Stride. So the Tribesmen go alone, which is not a big deal. I charge with my dart against the chaff piece. I pass the frenzy on 9 maximize. Here I brain fart a bit. Basically, I failed my march check on the general on the 9 rollable. I wanted to position my general in front of the Myrmidon to chaff him and put pressure on him and organize a lot of counter charges, which I did, but I failed that 9 rollable. And after that, basically, I wasn't able to get out of the way because I placed the chaff first. Then I did 9 rollable here, failed. I couldn't move out of the way to move out of the way with him, and I needed to move the shaman out first. Basically, it was a big problem to get within 18 of the close combat. That is going to be very important, and position my BSB in the front like I wanted to because I failed the march here. So I was in big trouble. I didn't find the solution, and my shaman, I completely brain fart because now he can shoot at me and try to kill the shaman, which is stupid. So huge mistake here. The Yetis move on the hill. Those guys reposition. So basically, I'm out of arc of the Myrmidon, I guess. He couldn't charge me. At least the Rockrock, I'm sure. I think the Giants as well. He can charge my general. Can try to. He's only AP1, so I should be fine. And then I counter charge a lot of stuff. And the same with Sibaresh. He's kind of trapped. He cannot move here in between. I guess I didn't put enough space. I think, I'm not sure 100%, but basically if he failed the march check, he's going to be in trouble. That's what I wanted, but because I failed that march check, I'm not able to get, I felt the BSB could have been in a better position, but I didn't manage to be within 18 and to be in a good position with the BSB, which is annoying because I felt it is exactly the time to push a bit more with the BSB and try to put pressure, especially on this left flank. In the magic phase, I get a dispel +1 strength on the Trispan, obviously. I get break the spirit off on the Myrmidon to really avoid them trying to risk a charge that could be annoying for me. Close combat, close combat. I did 2 wounds to the Siren, but they stick, I guess. They test on the -2, but they stick. Vanadra. So I got a charge, a flank, a big flank, a standard, and a rank. So I'm up by 5. I do 2 wounds to him, so I'm 7 up, I guess. And he did 4 wounds to me. I win by 3. He checks on a 6, no reroll, and he passes the check. So he only lost 2 wounds, which is not so bad for him. So yeah, but we're still here. He's turn 4. He decided to reposition Sibaresh, and since I didn't position my monsters so well, they are too close to each other, he was able to double chaff me with a single piece of chaff, which is very annoying. Turn around the Myrmidon, just reform those guys, reposition Sibaresh in the middle to basically, in case I charge here, you want to be able to counter charge me. Here we're still in combat, here we're still in combat. The only thing that I maybe did wrong is the fact that I repositioned the BSB. I'm not anymore within 18 of the BSB, and obviously not anymore within range of the general. So the tribesmen are a bit on their own, which I knew they are likely to flee at some point, especially since he has more and more attacks and a magic phase now. So I knew it's a risk, but I think they already did the job by pinning him down through rounds, basically. In the magic phase, he's going to get also he passes the march check on Sibaresh and passes the march check on the Order. That is quite important to block the Tuskers in case we're stuck in combat. I cannot charge with the Tuskers on Vanadra because they passed the march check. Magic phase, he got reroll 2 hit on Vanadra. I dispel Fate Judgment. He got Hereditary on 2 dice against 2 dice and did 2 wounds to my Shaman. Shooting attack, I'm going to save wounds, and my Shaman is still alive on 1 wound. So I'm very, very lucky here. He could have and should have probably killed me. Close combat, I clean the chaff, and here I'm going to do 1 wound to him only. He's going to do 9 wounds to me. So I'm steadfast on a 7, no reroll. I break. He decided to chase me because I had a short charge to get him since we are not in combat anymore. So he decided to try to go for the points and make the charge a bit longer. My turn 4, this time H Swift Stride, I get it, so I charge him in the flank. I rally those guys on a 7, no reroll, which is nice. Reposition the BSB in front of the Shaman to protect him and try to go into this combat. Use these 2 guys to chaff Sibaresh that cannot go, charging the BSB. Double charge the Blazing Glory, charge with the General and the Yetis in the flank against the Myrmidon. Push the dart forward to ready to charge next turn, so I'm feeling now the game is turning heavily in my favors because I'm in a strong position on the right, strong position on the left. I should be doing good. Magic Face, he dispel +1 strength on the Tuskers. I got hereditary off on them. Impacted, I did 9 impacted, 6 wounds. He saved 2 of them, 4 wounds, dead. Boom. Straight on the impact. Strong performance from the Tuskers. Other than that, I killed the Blazing Glory, did a couple of wounds here. He passes the steadfast check and I reform slightly. He's turn 5. He was stuck in combat. He turned around Cyber tried to kill me. Charge with the line against my 2 tribesmen. Pre-position the orders to double chaff me and try to protect this secondary objective. Position those guys to shoot at the Tuskers. In the Magic Phase, I'm dispelling, distracting. He did the hereditary on the Rock, did nothing. Again on Tribesman, did nothing as well. Shooting, he did only 1 wound to my Tuskers. Close combat. Going to kill some more, but we still in combat. We tie somehow, I guess. And then on my turn, I think I don't have pictures anymore. But what I was going to do, we did that quickly because we wanted to go to bed. But I will charge here. Charge here is going to be left with, I think, 1 model at the end of combat, or maybe even crumble already. Use the giant to chaff his Cyberesh. What else? Charge with the rock here to finish this combat. I think that's the plan. And yeah, that's it more or less. And then push towards the objective with them. And then basically we stop after that because we knew that it's basically over because I can easily, the last round, get rid of the imps. You can save Cyberesh. I can probably get them because I have a lot of units that charge far away. Secondary objective will be mine. So we saw what we wanted to see. Post-game analysis. I think overall my counter deployment was okay. I identified the main threats. I was able to push and take risk at the right places. So I think the counter deployment was okay, the placement of the token as well. I felt I had a plan A, B, C because I had a lot of resources, so I tried out things, like for example the Yetis, which didn't work, but still opened the games and reduce a bit of his strengths and force him to engage. And after that, I was in a position to try to counter-attack and punish him. I should have picked Savage Fury instead of Break the Spirit. I felt Break the Spirit wasn't so good. Savage Fury could have been interesting for the battle focus when I was in combat with big units, thinking about Tribesmen and Tuskers, but also to frenzy bait some of his stuff with non-rerollable check. Attempted long charges cost and could have cost even more to my opponent. He lost Vanadora because of that, and he could have lost Cyberesh to that as well. My Shaman nearly died. I lost sight. That's, I think, a bit of a Warhall effect because I was playing 2D, not 3D. And it's a big difference for me between that and real life. I forgot a bit about the unit, who was having which range damage, who was doing what. I completely lost track of his range damage option, and it's obvious that I should have done that. So I was lucky to only give half point of the Shaman. And last but not least, refreshing to play something with more unit on table, to play more aggressive, to have more combat. So I enjoy a lot to try this list, and I'm definitely going to try some more variation of the list. I felt this has some potential and is interesting to play, so definitely a good experience for me. That's all guys for this battle report. I hope you liked it, and talk to you soon on the channel. Bye bye.